Anime is no stranger to being weird as fuck. Upskirts, funky camera angles, and faceplants and boobs are all on the tame end of what anime and manga throw at the wall in a play for horny comedy, absurdity for laughs, or a cheap boner. This isn't uncommon. The term is ecchi. And if you've watched anime, or read manga for any length of time, this is something you've become desensitized to. You soon start realizing that no matter how annoying explaining to your parents the high school girl's panties are essential to the plot, that too will pass. But this season, the holy trinity of ecchi has risen. It ain't no big three, but it's funny seeing a series that's 10 years old, a series that has a slave king, and a BDSM magical girl series get adapted all in the same season. And it's even funnier that I'd already read all of them prior to them being adapted. It's like seeing the weird kid have a glow up, just the glow up didn't remove any of the weirdness. Alright, rapid fire synopses. All based on their mangas, because I can't be fucked watching the shows. Matto Seihai no Slave is about a dude which ends up in hell and he becomes a slave to a dummy mummy because she used some magical power to allow him to fight demons. Maho Shoujo ni Akogarete is about a girl who wants to be a magical girl, but Demon Cat says psych and she becomes a dummy mummy villain. Tales of Wedding Rings is an isekai where the dude has to get married to a bunch of girls covering every fantasy race tag on your preferred site for hentai. Whew, that's that. But surprisingly enough, there's something about all of these series. They're different in their approach to the ecchi tag. Of course, this is something that has changed over the years. In the past, it was upskirts, wacky camera angles, and faceplants and boobs, as mentioned prior. But at some point, it's gonna turn into hardcore sex. So, is it Well, when it comes to sex and stories, I think it's easy to say sometimes it adds to the story. Consummating a long-held love, finally having those two morons who didn't confess slamming a home run. I was going to compare actual pornography and hentai to these manga or anime, if you are one of the type who prefer watching. They beat doujin territory. They're serialized in magazines. Though hentai can be serialized too, or put into a magazine, so that ain't beating any allegations. Some of them share magazines with non-degen series, so we're gonna have to dive into the source. It's as simple as these three series are incomparable in their degeneracy. We'll start with Kekkon Yubiwa Monogatari, Tales of Wedding Rings. I reread it. So, what makes it ecchi? Okay, FMC has her bra showing as part of her design. Not really something I'd pick up on, since, again, desensitized. Secondly, it's French kissing or kissing for the first half of the manga, occasionally lingerie and sometimes full-blown nudity. For it's quite literally so many chapters in, you kind of realize that MC cockblocks himself intentionally for his ideals and pure love. I will classify this as classic ecchi. It would probably match the energy of To Love Ru in its heyday. I mean, if I'd read To Love Ru, lol. It's pure love, and the only thing you'd consider ecchi or hentai bait is the fact that he collects fantasy races like Ash Ketchum collects Pokemon. Elf, Catgirl, Dragon Girl, Robot. It's an old manga, what do you expect? It meets the ecchi requirements for the time. The plot isn't horribly contrived, or it's not anything special. It fulfills the self-insert fantasy tropes and desires as easily as they need to be fulfilled. That is simply how it is. But the arms race has escalated. In 2019, 2 new weapons were introduced to the ecchi arm race. They changed the game. Matto Seihai no Slave, Hell's Soldier's Slave, and Maho Shoujo ni Akogarete, gushing over magical girls. Literally. In this figurative arms race, they brought out the stuff just before nukes, if nukes are full-blown porn. They went for niche weaponry. Let's start with Slave. Chapter 1 is just a kiss. That is quite literally not all that bad as far as manga goes. Sure, it's a really detailed French kiss, but again, desensitized. Chapter 2 is a boob smother, which means this is escalating quite quickly for an ecchi manga, especially since it's not just a clothes smother. To avoid spoilers, since it's a fairly new title, I mean 5 years old, but whatever, it remains as it does, just the rewards and the extra chapters include more and more. Is this really not sex moments? Thus making it, I don't know, I really can't tell anymore. But now there's gushing over magical girls. Shit. This is very definitely a new war. They start with BDSM, kink play, something that previous ecchi manga would let the audience warm up to instead of bringing out the flogger and pushing the impact the manga leaves to its max. Don't let the overly sexual nature of the manga take away from the fact it's genuinely one of the funniest things ever. This manga quite literally doesn't match the other two's energy. You've got the horny friends at school, which will ask, what porn do you watch? And then you've got this Giga Chad strolling around saying, guys, I f***ed a vacuum and it didn't work out. The coconut was better, low-key. Like, quite literally, BDSM episode 1, mind break in chapter 3, to awaken a character to their masochism. But if the story didn't have these moments, this manga wouldn't be as charming or as special. I mean, it eventually reaches Seigex, but I'm not there for that. So, plot to serve the porn or porn to serve the plot? Wedding rings, porn for plot's sake. Even if the reason is fickle, the characters do genuinely have a reason to fuck the dude. It's not just sex for the sake of sex. Slave, it's, well, okay, you could probably have the same series but way less horny, so I'll say that the horny is for the horny's sake. It does serve the plot, but not in a subservient way and more in a way of, I'll help you for the story's success, but when I want to get horny, I get horny kind of way. Now, gushing over magical girls, quite literally. I don't think this story works if the characters aren't so unashamedly horny. Well, there is shame when they aren't literally going balls to the wall fetish play. The plot is actually supported by the changes in characters because of the horny. And the characters are still themselves even in the horniest of moments. Aside from the fact that it's all just resist play, and since it's non-consensual, it's sexual assault. I do suppose our villains are deplorable. But hey, if you enjoy it, fuck it, you do you. Like, their plots outside of the obvious service for the fans is sometimes worth reading it for. I mean, gushing over magical girls actually almost made me laugh as hard as Grand Blue, so I'm sure as hell not dropping it. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, leave a subscribe. This isn't going to be the normal level of quality for my videos, I put way less effort usually. But if you enjoyed it, leaving a subscribe or a like will tell me what you guys want. So I'll see you guys next time. 90% of you aren't subscribed, please subscribe.